Welcome to 12 Gauge Investigative.
In the shadows where the truth hides deep, echoes of the lost and the secrets they keep. Cold cases burn in the back of your mind. We dig through the dark, one clue at a time. This ain't fiction, this is blood, this is truth. 12 Gauge Investigative, justice uncaged. We ask the questions that too scared to say, shining a light where the guilty pray. From killers to whispers, we won't look away.
All right. Well, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties, but trying to figure it all out. Forgot that I was using a different camera and thought I was using the camera on the laptop. My name is 12 Gauge and welcome to my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for being here. If you're returning subscriber, thank you once again for coming back and giving the channel some support. You know, yesterday I started the Epstein files, and today, later on tonight, I'm going to do an interview with one of the surviving individuals that was able to escape the island. And it shall be a very interesting interview. I hope that it doesn't mess up like it normally does whenever I try to do some stuff like that. But, you know, we will do what we will do. Well, let's get back to this because we haven't even touched the surface on this stuff. I enjoy going bit by bit on this because you might overlook something that many people might see as very trivial. But as you know, when it comes to evidence, you can't ever be too meticulous when you're looking at stuff. We left off on slide number 97. We're actually on 20 now. So I'm just going by the last two digits of the numbers. So we were reviewing the evidence log that the police has on this, on some of these things that they were capturing on evidence, photos and negatives and stuff like that. So this looks like it's an email, and it says, trying again, please let me know if you still don't see the face. And then it has the city of Honolulu, phone number, fax number, the date, November 7th, 2005 at 7:14 a.m. It said, detective redacted below the suspect's photo image. Please call me if you have any questions or concerns. So it has the Hawaii driver's license, which this is the driver's license number, social security number, the name, the address, the city, the state, the birth date, and the individual's demographics. There is a lot that is redacted, obviously. So we will just focus on the stuff that we see. These are interesting to see because I don't know if many of you remember the the old timey Memorex stuff, like what I'm showing right here. Um, these were cassette tapes that were used whenever you interrogated somebody. Let me fix the camera. Whenever you interrogated somebody, and um, this is made by Memorex, it's kind of like, or by Sony. But one of the biggest things before um, was Memorex, and part of their deal was, is it real or is it Memorex? Hold on a second. I hate when my mouse clicks too far and I go too far back. So there's 97, there's 20, and here's 87, where we're on the next realm of evidence. And some of the people that have viewed this evidence photos have been telling me a little bit about this, which this is a receipt for the town of Palm Beach Police Department evidence case 05368, property number 25-M52 178141, with the initials, 2 items, quantity is a micro, and a phone call. And there's the suspect, Jeff Epstein, 11405. So obviously on this little disc, not disc, videotape, audio tape, is a phone call that they're referencing in the receipt. Hey, Jeff H., you said, I used to use Memorex cassette tape, but I always thought Maxwell was better. Yeah, I like Maxwell stuff too. Um, it's interesting how far back we go with that stuff, huh? So here we go to another slide. This is number 14. And all this stuff has been digitized. Negatives and or media have not been captured. So here's another evidence slip. So whenever the police in any jurisdiction, I would believe, they all have this kind of evidence to account for the item, how many items, how many quantities. Here it says 1 and 1, 2 and 1, 3 and 1, and it says statement from so and so, and this is statement from so and so, and this is going to be another little bitty cassette tapes. I mean, they really shrunk down a lot. I don't know if you guys. Hey, Allie, Merry Christmas. I don't know if you guys remember how big the cassette tape used to be. Well, as time went on, everything shrunk. So that included these little audio tapes that were used for interrogations, and even the recorders got smaller. So this is interview 10405. This is interview number 2 up here, 101105. So as we've seen with other things, yeah, micro cassettes. Thank you. As we see with other things, they get smaller, but sometimes the quality of the audio gets better. Just because they're smaller doesn't necessarily mean that it compromises any of that stuff. And this is a VHS, obviously. So this would have been a video recording of the search warrant. It says right here. And it has all the identifying factors that you see whenever something is being documented, either audio or video. Like this says, like Jeff and I were just talking about, Maxwell. This is an old school brand. I think they're still around. Maxwell is a good brand, but this, like I said last night, if you weren't in the live last night, I'm going to repeat myself right now what I'm about to say. Whenever the police do investigations, they use not only, nowadays it would be digital photos or photos on a cell phone if they're the first responders, but they also use video recorders to record everything that is seen to the naked eye in the crime scene. So that's amazing. I'm going to put your comment on the screen. Believe it or not, I actually have one of those big tape recorders. I think a lot of us do. I mean, I used to myself. I used to take it and record lectures when I went to classes, and it did the point until those little micro cassettes came out. So this is the Palm Beach Police Evidence Forum again, and this has, like I said, item one, quantity two. There's two of them. Three item mark number two. The suspect Jeffrey Epstein, 10/20/05. And see, this says Panasonic. And these are different than what we were just looking at. I believe these are like the kind of, it looks like it says LP mode 90. I would believe that these would have been like those miniature um, videotapes that went into the video cameras. They would have been smaller like that. I'm not for certain that that's what it was. But obviously, these are recordings of interviews that were taken as well. And we're to 63. Here's another evidence tag or slip. Um, all evidence that you either have on a search warrant that is taken into custody, you must have one of these to match whatever it is that you seize from the individual. So that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the contents that were seized based on the search warrant, and it's documented with the item number, the quantity, and exactly what it is, and the date that it was collected. So most police departments, I believe, that's how they did it back in the day. Everything was very paper trail because paper was harder to lose, for one. Number two, you wouldn't accidentally record over it. You wouldn't, miss 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 misplace it. You wouldn't do any of that. You had this physical micro cassettes that would have everything that you were doing in the investigative process. Like you can see, this is a little tape holder, and this is the cassette, the mini cassette that we were just talking about. To me, this is interesting because it not only shows you stuff that we haven't been able to see in other investigative processes that we followed different crimes. This is actually showing you exactly the evidence where they did the interviews on these tapes, where they had these video cassettes where obviously there was some interrogations or interviews being done. And it's the same thing. Here's another one with another interview with the case number and everything else. So as you can believe, a lot of this is repetitive, but it's important nonetheless. And this says boat, PB, miscellaneous clouds, wedding, Tucker and Salem. So these are some pictures that were taken. Obviously, they were either found. I don't know where they would have been found, but possibly in the residence or in the boat. I don't know. But obviously, that is an individual that had their photograph taken. There's another individual, and there's another one. And obviously, these individuals are taking some very erotic poses. And there are some people redacted in some of these photos, possibly because they are minors. So the only reason I would see that an adult would have their face redacted is if it's somebody of high ranking that doesn't want to be exposed. So these are some photos that were seized, obviously. I mean, these things are interesting to me is how you can zoom in on stuff and kind of see different things. I'm not quite sure what this is, but this is obviously a female, and she's topless, it looks like. This looks like somebody's foot. There's an individual in a suit, and as you can tell, it's they're categorized 10 JPEG, 9 JPEG, and so on. And here's some more photos of various people that are being photographed. I'm going to try something right quick. Clip it. Supposedly you're able to say that in StreamYard's about to clip whatever you're wanting. And finally, we get to the age of the CD or the DVD, whichever one this is. It has some weird kind of writing on it. So this is a CD. And I used to burn music on these things. I don't know if you guys remember back in the day burning music on these blank CDs. And there is a DVD-R. And there's the famous Apple brand. And here's some more photos that the only reason that I could believe that these were covered up or redacted, like I said, this case has a lot of allegations for underage juveniles and underage kids. So I would believe that that would be one of the reasons why a lot of these were redacted, even though that possibly they're adults now. At the time of the crime, they were underage, so you can't necessarily show their faces. And here's some more photos. Let me zoom in so that you can see exactly what some of these photos are. That looks like some kind of lamp. It looks like a chair. And that looks like some kind of outline of something. There's another lamp, another lamp. Looks like a pillow of some sort. Some kind of table. And this case has a pretense of a lot of different things that I've heard. One of it is the masseuse, the massages by young adults. The molestation, the sexual assault of young adults. So, It has a lot to do with a lot of different things. So when you're photographing these things, as I said last night, people ask, well, why is there random photographs of different areas? Well, you have to remember when you're investigating something, your naked eye might see it, but it doesn't process it. So it's easy for somebody to be looking at a wall, not see blood spatter, but you take a photo, you take a video, and you slow it down, or you're able to take a still photo of something. You're able to take a magnifying glass and see possibly something that you're looking for. It's kind of like that looks like the flooring. See, that looks like a chair, like a computer chair. And as you saw last night, this was gym equipment in one of his gyms that he had in the house, in the residence. He had multiple rooms, so there was a lot of different things in all the rooms. It's a SK pics, whatever SK is, more pics. So this would be pictures of the boat, probably. Him out there in the marina. As you can see, if you've ever seen pictures of Mr. Epstein, that is him right there on possibly that boat right there that they're showing. And there's a more close-up looking picture. And as you can tell, these photographs are not very high definition, but they're still clear nonetheless. So the fact that they're not 4K doesn't really matter. You can still make out pretty much what it is they're trying to capture. And there looks like either Epstein with somebody else that's been redacted. So can you imagine being on this boat with this man who has been suspected of doing all these things and later convicted? See, there's a group picture. And I heard also that he was into blackmailing a lot of people of higher stature. So some of these photos could have been a lot of blackmail material. There's looks like there's a couple of women right there, and that could be a woman on this boat. A lot of interesting pictures. That looks like sailboat off in the distance. Sorry about that. Like I said, when you're investigating a criminal act, you just never know what you're going to find as being possible evidence. So you categorize everything just in case one day somebody's looking at this and they see something that three other eyeballs have not seen. To me, these look nothing more than land, sea, and boat pictures. But to the investigators, they could have been much more because they would have had them right there in front of them. They wouldn't have been, obviously scanned. So you could have been able to tell exactly what that was. Remember downloading music from Napster and burning it onto CDs. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth, Jeff. I remember LimeWire. Napster, I remember Napster. You would burn some good music. Sometimes you'd get all kinds of sounds on that music that you were trying to get because people would be obviously talking in the background and recording it off a Jambox or something. And there's some more pictures that have been redacted with multitudes of different angles. And once again, these could be juvenile. These could be high-ranking officials that visited Mr. Epstein at any particular time that these photographs were taken. So, one thing for certain is I never understand it. Kind of like with Diddy. He videotaped everything, everything, everything he said, everything he thought. He videotaped everything. It's almost like giving the police a confession video. So if these photos had any kind of incriminating evidence in them, all they had to do was look at the photos or, have the photos be turned over. And there it looks like he is with, let's see what this photo is. That looks like him with a couple people, possibly on a boat. And that looks like a person either naked or in a bikini. And there's another person in a bikini on the beach. More people, more people. So I was told that, he would blackmail people. So think about that a minute. If you have incriminating photos with high ranking officials or high ranking people, and if you make it look like they were doing something wrong, how much would they pay for a photo? Look at this up here. This looks like some kind of tunnel or something. I don't know. That looks like him just sitting there, but look at these doors right here. Looks like it's an entrance to somewhere. And that might be him. But by the shape of some of these photos and the height, it could be children. Like this photo right here. This could be a couple children. Just never know. Because they've been redacted. And it's sick to think about, honestly. It's sick that these higher level people have this kind of illness, I would say, towards young kids. There he is, obviously with somebody that doesn't want to have their face shown to the world. There he is again. And like some of these photos are just people posing. And there's some more posing people. And you wonder who is behind that black box. Is there somebody famous? Is it somebody that could be linked to this person or his activities? Because it's bad enough that you're linked to this man, but think about what he was accused of and later convicted of. And if you were anywhere around this individual, in most cases, people are guilty by association. And there are some photos, obviously, of either the inside of the boat, which I believe that is what that is. And there he is right there. I don't want you to get discouraged and, say, well, this is crap, not showing us anything. Well, you know what? I've seen other photos and it gets worse than these. So there's 10,000 files. So think of all the stuff that you're going to see. I'm going through it one at a time because I haven't seen this. There's somebody laid under some blankets, sheets. There's an individual with her back to the camera. Same individual, looks like the same individual facing the camera. And if this is an actress or somebody that um, has any kind of issues with having their face shown, can you imagine the repercussions if you're seen in one of these photos with this madman? What it could do to your career or your reputation. And you may not even been involved in what he was involved in, but just being an individual in a photo with him would put you in close proximity, would it not? And there he looks like he's on a jet ski. And that one looks like there's somebody on the back of that jet ski, or they're riding that jet ski by themselves. See, there's two people on that one, there's two people on that one. And it looks like he's on that one by himself. Same here. Like I said, if we ever get photos like this for some of these other cases that we're really interested in, it's going to be amazing to see exactly photographically what was found, because the videos, the police cam, the body cams on some of it honestly didn't do much justice in my opinion. There's a person right there. And that looks like a jet skis. That looks like the yacht. I heard somebody from on TikTok say that they were a neighbor of Mr. Epstein and that there was a lot of parties always going on, but they never really got close enough. And see, there's women that are topless. Don't know if they're underage or if they're just random people that were participating in whatever. And I believe this could be possibly one of the masseuse tables, because there was some talk about having underage girls come and give massages. That looks like a dog right there. It is a dog. Well, bro, put some clothes on. Man, there's some disturbing stuff. People, it seems like people with money and any kind of power, they abuse their position in life sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. And there's another picture of somebody's legs. The person that I'm going to show her interview tonight, and I don't want to zoom in on this, just somebody in their underwear. It looks like somebody's laying on the bed. You can go and find these photos on DOJ website. Um, but the individual that's going to be discussing her escape from this torturous life was said that, once the children aged out, got 12, 13 years old, they would randomly be beheaded. There would be a room that had a wooden bed on it, or a wooden slab covered in old blood and everything else, where they would take the kids and behead them because they were not of use to anybody at that point, because they were older, because they liked the small, young children. And people ask, how can somebody become that perverse whenever they're not at that level. And there he is right here. When they're not at that level earlier on in their lives. I can tell you the psychological effect of that is, a lot of times whenever people have money at their disposal, there he is with two other people. There's two people that are redacted. Whenever you have money and you have the ability to, as they were accusing him of doing, blackmailing or trafficking, it's almost like a shift in control. Like you have the money, so you feel that you're somehow above the law. And you say, well, why little kids? Think about it. I just said the word control. There's a person right there. So do you think an adult would be controlled as easy as a young child? No. So it's easier to control a young child, especially if they're not from the US and they're from other countries. Wow, that looks like what the hell? I saw that one, but that looks like a boy. No, that's a woman right there. So think about what I'm saying. If you're having power and control over the lives of others, are you going to want to mess with an adult that is going to give you struggle, or are you going to try to get young adults, young kids, who are not necessarily going to put up a fight? Especially if you're promising them this and that, something that they've never had before, a better life, some kind of there's somebody nude. Blah. It looks like it's there. It is again. There it is again. That is a male, and possibly they're having some kind of interaction in that photograph. Hey, Melissa, how you doing? So think of what I'm saying as far as being controlled or having control over younger people. This is 0, 0, so let's go. Damn it. We're at 5. Think 0, 0. So we're at 2, 0. So think about what I just said. And this is something that I touched on last night. Is this book. This book is a self-taught how to massage certain people. Look at that title right there, what it says. It says, Massaging My Father. So this is a baby massage. These are teaching people how to massage young children, or teaching young children to massage adults. So you look at the books, the instructional manuals. It's a play-by-play. Wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say this is a play-by-play? Wouldn't you say this is an instructional manual that is given the play-by-play? I would say so. Because look at that. Sensual touch, the right intention, spontaneity, sensitivity, soft hands, a massage called Tantra, setting the sensual mood, flavored massage oils. Because on some of the, see, there's a illustration of how to give a massage. Some of the search warrant stuff, there was a lot of receipts for um, erotic toys on one of them from this erotic bookstore. Have hands will travel doing massage for a living. So I'm not going to go all the way down this book, but you get the point. You get the point. It's basically training whoever how to massage somebody correctly. And they were paying high dollar for these massages. So I can only imagine the terrible things that were being done to these children after these massages. And these were Palm Beach Police Department 05-368. And that's what makes my channel different. Is I'm not inputting my own thoughts on this because it's awful. I'm talking about the evidence stuff. I'm showing you the evidence. I'm letting you make up your own mind. But this is real life. This is true crime. This is the real stuff. A lot of times people say, well, they never show us enough. Well, here you go. Look, you're seeing how the investigative process went down, how they were showing the photos, even though they're redacted due to protecting whoever, they're still seeing how this investigation went down. It said the United States District Court, Southern District of Florida, the grand jury subpoena addressed to Bear Stearns, and that was, if you weren't here last night, Bear Stearns is the owner of Victoria's Secret and the Unlimited Clothing, and he was conned by Jeffrey Epstein, supposedly, to be his financial advisor. And this is when Jeff started to really make his money. This is when he became a millionaire, started rubbing shoulders with the high and mighty, and started conning other people out of their money and possibly setting up the dates and massages and everything else. So this individual has been subpoenaed, and this was the subpoena right here. That was the company. And here are some of the messages shown to Mr. Epstein from 40505 to 40505. And some of these are really, if they weren't blurred out, you could kind of tell what they're about. The first one says, via email, I now only need an appointment for the night of May 11th. Is that okay? And this is being sent to Mr. Epstein, okay? Called me last night. She was very sick over the blank and got IV drip, but she would like to try to see you, not this weekend, but perhaps the next. And I read these last night, so it's a continuum. So it says, are you in town this Thursday? It really talks about the transition of money, how the girls would like to see him again, and how this person is leaving for Sweden. It's very, very detailed, very detailed. And these are messages that were sent to Mr. Epstein's phone. And these are some of the numbers, the phone companies. So that tells you how intricate. And I'm showing this because of other cases, okay? You know, a lot of times we have this imaginary thought in our head that when police investigations are going down, that they're only looking at the same things we look at on these lives. We have this understanding that the police are only looking at videos, they're only interviewing people, and that's it. That they're not digging into the phone data. And look at this. It's the phone numbers. It talks about the date, the times, the calls that were made to this number, calls made to that number. So think of the Metro PCS, Bell South Telecommunications. So it shows you that not only do they deep dive, they also look into any kind of reservations that are made from people. So if you're looking to piece together evidence, then you're looking for every little piece of evidence that you can find that is tied to the network surrounding an individual. So do you believe in an investigation? Not all the time does it have to directly tie to an individual to be substantial enough to say, well, this is tied directly to you, so therefore you did it. I don't believe so. I believe that if you can somehow tie the evidence in a network that would show without a reasonable doubt that this would be possibly tied to this individual, just like it's doing here in this case, then that's substantial enough. It's circumstantial is what it's called, but here are a lot more dates. This looks like a flight, a plane number, a Boeing 727 private jet. So a lot of this evidence that we're showing today and yesterday could be circumstantial, but it is circumstantial to the point that it points in one direction, not 100. And I hope that makes sense to you guys, because that's what I'm trying to show with this case is an understanding of how you don't necessarily need all the pieces to point directly to this individual to show that this was the only person that did these crimes, because there's a lot more people involved in this case, you know? And this talks about, this is the Federal Bureau of Investigation, talks about child prostitution with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. And remember that name, Maxwell, because I'm sure we're going to see it again. And as we've seen in other cases, it is a breakdown of other people that were interviewed, potential relatives, the aliases, their addresses, and the subpoenas. I showed this last night, so that's why I'm going so fast. And this is kind of like other things that they wrote down, the Omni Bell Share continued numbers, and these are the numbers of rooms, I guess, that he stayed in, the Hilton. Like I said, when you're trying to piece together evidence in a crime, it goes further than the surface. It goes further than what people really believe an investigation is. an investigation is not surface level. We haven't seen all this stuff in other cases. We haven't been prevalent to that. We haven't been prevalent to receipts. We haven't been prevalent to hotels and other kind of, coffee shops or restaurants or gas station receipts or anything else like that that we're prevalent to in this case because they're writing down all of it. And did all this stuff make the trial? I haven't seen the trial, so I can't tell you. And this is a request for a warrant. And this is basically the idolized areas of things that you're looking to arrest this man on. And this is a letter to the attorney. Like I said, all this stuff is in last night, so I'm not going to go over it. And this is obviously the evidence that is itemized. And as we've seen in other cases, you itemize things because this is how you later keep track of the level of importance as to what you're wanting to tie the individual with, such as 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 that are circled. These could be high level pieces of evidence. So you notice not every one of them is circled like some of the others, because the ones that are circled are priority and they probably have more evidentiary value than some of the other ones that were taken into evidence under the search warrant, which is awesome to see. Because if we were really able to see this in a lot of the other cases when they start off, after going to court and after they go to court and everything else, then we can really see that there's not as much conspiracy as we believe. We have timelines, we have times where calls were made, messages were left, where the calls were made to. This one was talking about that one that I went really fast through. Was talking about there were supposedly 2 females on his private jet that were being trafficked. They were they're trying to stall the jet so they could find those 2 females on there and arrest them for trafficking. Well, they tried to get the airplane stopped. He was going through customs and they were able to infiltrate the jet, and they didn't find any of either one of the females. They didn't find them in the airport, and he was not taken into custody because there was nothing tying him to a crime at that point. So that's basically, and this order is just stating that there was something in the legal paperwork that needed to be redacted or revised, and that's what that's about. So let's go to the next one. 97. Come on, 12. 747. This is basically a statement with Rodriguez. I lost count where I'm at. We just did 4769. Is that what we just did? 69 is a micro. Another micro with an interview. Okay, here's a photo. This looks like a photo at his residence. And as you can see, there's something on this painting. And I can't read what that says. But there's, looks like a CDR. And it's sideways because there's the trash can. And this is either on the floor or on the desk. This looks like a desk, maybe. That looks like a desk key. So you look at these photos and you're like, well, I don't see anything 12. Okay. Well, to some people, this case was very intriguing to them. And they've been wanting to see these photos for a very long time. And that's why I'm showing it. And once again, this is the masseuse book, teaching whoever how to be a masseuse. And they're the same kind of boat pictures. And I'm not really doing this backwards. I hope that I'm on the right page. Let's go to 31, see I haven't done this one yet. And see, there's a cell number that's been redacted, called, we'll call back. Possession in a vehicle accident. And this is a E-Justice New York that shows a DMV photo. Probably some person that they're trying to investigate. And there's a lot more redactions. Somebody on TikTok said there is a lot of redactions. Which, how can that be legal? Which I'm not a lawyer, I don't know. But here's the Bear Stearns company again. The same text messages. We've already gone through all this. I showed you just a while ago, so I don't know why there's duplicates. 97. PB girls. Arrows of LSJ building site. See, it says LSJ, Sunset, Hong Kong, Beijing. And there's some pictures of individuals at the residence, it looks like. And those are the buildings that they're talking about. I don't know why they would put these out with so many redactions. Unless there's people in those photos that have paid a lot of money to have those photos redacted. Because that looks like a plane, a dog. See, like I said a while ago, you take a photo of your plane or your jet. It says B-Day Max 727. So this could have been the jet that came in and out of the island, the Boeing 740 or 727. That looks like the airport hangar. And there's a lot of pictures of that airplane. And there's some random pictures. Poolside. animals on the poolside furniture. Did have quite a bit of dogs. And there he is sleeping. With some kind of lotion next to him. So could he be getting a massage right here? Possibly. There he is with somebody. And there he is right there, wrapped up with somebody. It kind of goes to tell you that be careful when you're taking photos of things that could come back to harm you, um, especially in photographic form, especially if you're doing something illegal. And there's a lot of people that photograph and video their crimes. I don't understand it. I do not understand it. There he is again. There he is again on the floor. There he is again, looking like somebody giving him a kiss. I don't know what a lot of these pictures are, so like I said, they're just random photos to me. It's probably a random photo to you. This is backyard, 65th backyard. So this is probably the backyard from his residence that not a damn shot was shown. There he is. If there's somebody underage next to him right there, that could tell a lot. Could tell a lot. And there he is right there. See, it looks like there's somebody there with him because the way he's looking at this, like right there, he's looking down. He's looking eye level at something, and it looks like he's looking eye level again. So there has to be somebody right there, either sitting on the table or in his lap or something. See, these look little, so it's like, are these little kids that are sitting there at the table with him? It looks like he's leaning in right here, and the redaction is not very big. So, what is it that he's staring so close at? You know what I mean? See, this looks like a leg. See right here? That looks like a person. I don't know. I wouldn't think it'd be a dog or anything like that because they haven't redacted any dog photos. See, that looks like, let's see what this photo is. See, that looks like somebody dressed all in black, some kind of mask on. See, there's a woman right there. He was not ashamed of what he was doing, whatever the hell it was he was doing. Obviously, he took plenty of pictures. PB Easter. Looks like a photo shoot of some sort. See, there's a photo right there, and it looks like there's some small feet. I could be wrong. See? Same thing here. And there. That's what I'm saying. These photos were either compromising photos or they had young adults, dancers' images. See, there's pictures of the dogs, and they're not redacted. Well, this is where we're going to stop tonight for now, 48 on page 6. I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. But if you followed along that far, hopefully you'll be here tonight when I'm talking to the individual that I'm not going to be talking to her myself. She's going to be giving an interview with another person, but I'm going to be playing the interview, and you're going to be able to hear firsthand exactly what went on at Epstein's Island. And I know this is not a lot of people's cup of tea, but you know, it is true crime and it is what is relevant right now. And I'd rather report on the relevancy of whatever is going on right now rather than to focus on stuff that's already been handled, put to bed, and it just sitting there festering, rotting, so to speak. So if you watch this on replay and you're not doing anything about 8 Central tonight, be sure to join me again as I present the interview. And I hope that you enjoyed this. We will continue this. There's a lot to go through. A lot to go through. So thank you so much. Like I always say, Maestro, cue that music.
Wake up to a war before my feet hit the floor. Mind full of noise, heart tired of keeping score. Bills on the table, hope under the bed. I shake hands with fear, every word that I said. Life throwing punches I never could block. Clock keeps ticking, but I'm frozen in shock. Smiles in public, storms when I'm home. Surrounded by people, but dying alone. I carry my past like a loaded gun. Every regret says you're not the one. I try to run, but the shadows stick. Every road feels narrow, every choice feels quick. I've been fighting battles nobody sees. Depression